Welcome back to Bo's Workshop. Today I'm building a guitar body out of a piece of pecan wood that I cut out of a trunk about 12 years ago. I've drug this piece of wood from Georgia to Florida. It's been in 5 different places, so it always made the cut. So today is the day, or I've already started working on it, but I want to demonstrate where I'm at. So my first problem is I had to take essentially a chunk of log and mill it down to something that you could use, and maybe I don't have the proper tools, so that's probably why it's taken this long. But I did end up getting a radio arm saw, so I thought the best way to do it would be take the wood, set it on the radio arm saw, and then cut a bunch of slices into it. Now you can do this like building log cabins. You can take the chainsaw, make some cuts in it, knock out the chunks with an adze. So you just use whatever technique for whatever project that you have. And if you had a perfect studio, well, maybe you make the perfect projects, but most of us don't have the perfect studio. So we use what we got. So cut these fins out, get a chisel, come in, just knock out those chunks. This is a pretty time-consuming process. I mean, you're not saving any money doing this. This is really just a challenge piece. I mean, you can buy a blank guitar body for 40 bucks, and I've already spent a few hours messing with this project, so I don't think I'm really going to come out ahead in saving money, but it'll be fun. Just say I built this out of a tree that I cut on my own property, so I'm kind of excited about that. So you come in, I cut across the grain so that this chips out real easy. If you cut it with the grain, then it wouldn't want to chip out as easy. So I just come in, start knocking out all these fins, flip this piece over, and you're kind of left with this surface here. So it's some little bits still sticking up. So once I get it to this point, and there's just a few chunks left, I'll use my belt sander and I'll start fining that down to a more smooth surface. Now you'll have to keep going further and further with the sandpaper grit till you get the finish that you want. And I've been watching guitar luthier, I think it's Crimson Custom Guitars, and he does a lot of raw wood stuff. So some of my knowledge is coming from there. But as we mill this down, it starts to get more refined. As you sand more, you actually get a nice piece of wood. I kind of flame licked it to see how the grain would pop out, and now I'm going to have to cut a guitar body out of this. And I'm going to make a Telecaster. Recently I bought this guitar neck. It's a wide neck from Big Lou Guitars, and I tried to modify this body to fit this neck in, and it's way too sloppy. In guitar building, it's all about the details. This work isn't my best work. I'm really not proud of that, and it's just been haunting me ever since I messed with it. And that's really what inspired this build. So we're going to end up milling this out, setting the neck in here to pickups. I got Seymour Duncan pickups in this, so it ends up being a nice sounding guitar. It's just not at the standard that I want. So I found a guy on Etsy. His company's named Smokewood, and he has Telecaster templates that you can buy. You can just stick these on with double-sided tape, use your router, cut out the shape. Now this wood, this blank, just happened to be the perfect size. If it was any smaller, I wouldn't be able to make this particular style of guitar, but because it is just by happen chance the exact right size, it's going to work out pretty good. Now after my fiasco with trying to fit the neck, I'm a little leery to just go for it on this piece of wood. I mean, I've been hauling this around for a decade, so I am going to make another guitar body out of some of this spalted pine. I got this from a buddy of mine. He had a bunch of it laying around. His neighbor cut a tree down, and he had a sawmill. So if you have a sawmill, you can come out with a nicer blank than with a chainsaw. So depending on what you have to work with. Now this piece of wood is not wide enough to be a Telecaster. So what I'm going to do, I'll set this where I feel lucky Then I'm going to route out the control holes and draw the holes for the bridge and route out the neck. And then I'll take that away. And then I'm going to test fit up this wide neck guitar. So I'm going to have to make another template with this pocket just a little bit bigger. So I'll make the pocket a little bit bigger. I'll cut it into this piece of wood, get that fitted up perfectly so that I have a test run when I go to the pecan wood. Now, I'm not going to go all, if this turns out good, then I'm just going to make my own guitar shape. It'd probably be something Ernie Ball inspired. I've been looking at different guitar bodies, and Ernie Ball has some kind of neat stuff, and it's different, and this would be perfect because it's different, and I think that it'll end up making a nice guitar as well. So if it goes well, this will also become a guitar body, and what I learned from that, I'll be able to apply to this piece of wood, and then hopefully I get something that's looking toward professional quality. I'm going to do my very best on this. I'm going to take my sweet time. With every project I do, I try to do something a little bit better and a little bit higher quality. On this channel, I'm not just building what I'm building. I'm really trying to build a craftsman. I'm trying to up my game, create new skills so that I can build whatever it is that I want to build. And but you know, I got to give a shout out to the other YouTubers because I learned from you, and then I can apply that knowledge and kind of keep passing this on. And I think the world's a better place when we just build things and share our information with each other. So stay tuned. I'm pretty sure this wood was destined to become a guitar and a stool. There's just enough material to make both. Oh, Raven the mini chicken's talking to me. So we broke out the fins. We got a mostly flat surface with the belt sander and some heavy grit. It turns out like that pretty fast. So I think it's not a bad process if this is all the tools that you have. Telecaster bodies are usually 1 3/4 inch thick. I almost have this milled down. It's pretty close. But this pecan wood's pretty heavy. I think we're kind of going to do a hybrid between a Telecaster and a Strat body because it's going to have to go on a diet. This thing would weigh way too much. So I'm going to do another pass of cuts on this part. I'm working on making a template to cut out for this wider neck. So, the template worked very well for a Squire Telecaster neck. It was a pretty snug fit, and by the time you put some finish in there, you're going to have to press it in there. But this neck has a 1 7/8 nut, and on this end it is 2 5/16. So I like working with decimals more than fractions, so I convert that to decimal. If you have 4 decimal places, it's going to be a 16th. Well, if you have 5/16 and you divide that by 2, well, you're going to end up with a 32nd. So, so I divided 2 and 5/16 by 2, and then I came up with 1.15625, which is a 5/32. And then I have a nice steel rule marked out in 32nds, 64ths. On this side, you got 16ths and the 8ths. So if you really want to get precision, a ruler like that's pretty nice. Some digital calibers would work pretty well. So with the template from Smokewood, he marked a center line. So I drew a center line, and I'll index it on the holes for the pickups because I'll just route that out. Now up here, I laid out the original template. So now I need to measure 1 5/32 out from this center line and draw a new line. And then I'm just going to have to precision cut that with a saw and clean it up. I'll probably just cut right up to the line, and then I'll sand back until I'm at a perfect cut. And I'll probably leave that center line so I can check the measurements until I get exactly where I want to be, and then I'll have to cut the rest of it out. But that's how I'm going to fit this wider neck into this guitar body that I built. So I cut the template and checked, and it is nice and perfect. I can sand just a little bit. I'd rather just have a little bit snugger fit, and I can come in and sand, but it's right there where it needs to be. I don't think I could do any better unless I had a milling machine or something like that, but so far so good. The Big Lou neck is a little thicker than the Fender Squire neck. It ended up coming out, the Squire's 1 25/32. The Big Lou is 1 27/32. So that accounts for 1/16 of an inch. So when I cut this neck pocket, I'm going to make it a 1/16 deeper than it was. The neck pocket is the perfect depth before I even start milling, so I just have to widen out the hole. So I aligned the pickup holes, checking to make sure that the neck pocket looks centered. This ought to be a very nice setup. All right, moment of truth. We'll see how she fits. Like a glove. Nice tight fit. I'm gonna put some epoxy on this wood to seal it up. There's some bugs of 8 on it and different things. So we're gonna stabilize it. We're gonna do a burn burst. And once I get everything sealed up, then I can come in with some sandpaper and Make sure that neck is just nice and snug for maximum resonance. This ought to be one nice guitar when it's all said and done. Time for the fun part. So I got a hefty coat of epoxy on here. Now this guitar body just on the one side sucked up about 5 ounces of epoxy. It's so dry and kind of porous. So this will kind of stabilize the wood hopefully a little bit. I think it's going to be very pretty. Here's the guitar body after 24 hours. Epoxy's cured, and the wood just swallowed all of it except for a couple little spots there. That's all that kind of pulled at the top. The wood just was like a sponge and sucked it up. We're going to do the other side next. Now in this control pocket right here, this wood is pretty thin, so that epoxy flat out just soaked right through that wood. Kind of reminds me of the knife builders. They'll take a piece of burl and put the wood down in a pool of epoxy, and then they'll vacuum seal it to suck all the air out to stabilize that burl to make the wood stronger for the knife strength. But so far so good. I have the final seal coat of epoxy. Some of this wood was pretty porous. There were some holes in it. Down on this corner, this was a lot rougher than it should be. I mean, there were some holes, there was some insect damage in the wood. So what I did, I mixed up some wood flour. I took some charcoal and I ground that up real fine, and I made a paste with epoxy. So and I smeared some over here. Now with the wood flour, it's a nice dark brown. It's pretty nice color, but most of the stuff I needed to fill was on the edge where I charred the wood, so I wanted that to match, and the charcoal worked out beautifully for that. And when I was milling out the control pocket, there was a wormhole or a bug hole of some sort, and it had poked through, so I had a hole here going to the compartment. So I just used a little bit of painter's tape on the inside, made a dam. I put this filler epoxy in the hole, and once I sand that down, no one would ever notice really. I mean, it's not going to be a pristine looking piece of wood when it's all said and done. We're going a little bit rustic on this, but I think it's going to be really nice when it turns out. And I love the color. I love the char burst. Now I end up getting a bridge from Music Lily. I've never had one of these ashtray type bridges. I mean, the metal's a little on the thin side. The strings are going through the hull. I don't know if it has to be that beefy. Now we can compare this metal to the Squire, and this metal is twice as thick as this Music Lily bridge. Now this is a modern Telecaster bridge, and the holes did not line up with my template. So the moral of the story, you probably need to plan a little bit better than me if you're going to do a build. If you're going to do 70s style, whatever, you probably need the parts for that. Then in the template, this pick guard would have worked out perfectly, but I rounded off the edges. It wasn't going to sit flat, so I ordered this template, this pick guard, and this piece, the control pocket here, is going to have to be widened out a little bit, and none of the holes match these holes. So I went ahead and pre-drilled those on this body, and I just filled them in. So when it comes to doing the pecan body, I'm really going to have to think this through and maybe get the parts ahead of time before I start sticking a bunch of holes in it. This guitar is like the rat rod of guitars. The pecan body, I'm trying to do something much nicer. So lesson learned. This is a good reason to do the test run so I can iron this out before I get serious on the pecan body guitar. Well, the wood has been stabilized with epoxy. It filled in some major offenders as far as rough spots. Now I'm using some gel stain, and we're just rubbing it down. That area right there was pretty ate up, and I need to drill a hole through there to communicate for the 1/4-inch jack. And I'm not going to use the standard Telecaster version. In fact, I'm probably going to cannibalize some parts from this guitar. I'll put that on there. I'm going to steal the pickups out of this for right now, for the pecan wood guitar. But, you know, it's coming out nice. I have the guitar neck on, and I was mocking up the bridge to see if I had to take any off the neck or change the angle. And I think I might get away with not having to do anything else. I think there's enough adjustability in the bridge to get the action right on the strings. But, you know, I wish this product would have came like 15 minutes sooner, because really I need to paint with this shielding paint in the pickup pockets, and now I got this stuff in there and I need to take it back apart and paint it, but I was getting ahead of myself. So far it's looking pretty nice. I have the shielding paint in the pockets. I don't know if it'll need it. Some guitars have it, some don't. I've seen mixed opinions on it, but I'm trying to make a nice guitar, so we're just gonna go ahead. This one little batch is gonna do both of my guitar bodies, so it's not like a extra expense to do this on the practice body. But I really like how it looks. It's gonna be pretty sweet. Oh, you'll have to excuse the airboat noise in the background. I can never film around here. This is not a very quiet place to live, but I had the Telecaster finished, at least the pine wood guitar. Everything's nice and rounded. It's very comfortable. This is the Big Lou neck. It has that 1 7/8" nut. It sounds pretty good. It has good sustain. We've got Seymour Duncan pickups in it. It's pretty good. Now, some of the lessons I learned from building this is you really need to plan out the build. I was initially going to use some of the parts off of the Squire Telly that I had, but with the template that I had, it really, most of those parts wouldn't fit. I was able to reuse some of it, but in that process of using the template, I started putting holes in it. So I started to kind of, well, I could patch it, put some pegs and different stuff in it, or I could just buy some new parts that would work with it. So I think the planning process is pretty important on these guitar builds. That being said, I have the pecan wood body set up to, it's a blank now, but I'd like to put some humbucking pickups in here. I'm going to set it out without a pick guard, so I need a new template for that. I'm going to end up ordering that. And I'm going to think through what bridge setup do I want. Do I want a tremolo? Do I just want to use your normal Telecaster stuff? I'm going to think through how I'm going to do this. I don't know what neck that I want. I might get another Big Lou neck. I might get one from Warmouth Guitars. So I need to think this out a little bit. But it'll have some rounding at the back. This was some live edge board. So with this, I thought this wouldn't have been big enough to make a Telecaster out of. But I really just had to glue in just some sliver of pine wood right in here. And you can't even really tell that I grafted it in there. So this ended up being enough wood to make a Telecaster out of. So I'm going to plan out the pecan wood guitar, and then there'll be a follow-up video where I put that together and finish it. In the meantime, I have the stool that I'm working on. I'm going to play with some finishes. I think I might try the True Oil because it's just going to be a natural wood finish, and I'm not going to use epoxy and other stuff like I had to with this pine wood. But I'll let you know how it goes, and I'll fire up the amp. I'll let you hear how this sounds, and that'll be this video. So. But I would like some input on what you think I should do with the pecan wood guitar. I haven't made all the decisions yet. If I go with the tremolo, Floyd Rose makes this rail tail. There's a wider one, there's a more narrow one. I need to do a little bit of research on that. Or, I might just go with the Telecaster stuff. But if you have an opinion on the pecan wood guitar, please let me know, and I will take that into consideration as I build this next one. So please, give me some input. I need some help. All right, here's how she sounds. So that's the neck pickup. We got the middle position. We got the bridge. Neck pickup again. And we get dirty. This is a Joyo amp, the Zombie. Really good sustain. Pretty impressed with how it sustains. I have another cheap guitar that beats it in sustain by a good 5 seconds. So overall, I'm really happy with this guitar. I don't have all the tools to do a proper setup, so I'm going to end up taking it to a luthier. I'll probably end up having them make a bone nut for me. You know, they can level and adjust the frets, get the intonation and everything perfect. And I think this will be a real player. Usually when I pick out a guitar, you know, if I go to Guitar Center or whatever music shop I happen to pass by, I never let one go without stopping in and playing for a couple hours. I drive them nuts. But, you know, usually if you pick up a guitar, in my experience, within 30 seconds, I know this is what I want. And but, you know, with these, lately I've been playing with parts and putting stuff in, and you can take a guitar that's not perfect and tune it up, and it can be very, very nice. And these cheaper guitars are better than they've ever been. And when I first started playing, you know, you couldn't hardly play a cheap guitar, but now they're, you know, the gap is much more narrow. So, you know, if you like this video, like and subscribe. You know, hit the notification bell, share it, leave some comments, let me know how I'm doing, if I could improve anything. You know, I'm trying to grow the channel, and I'm trying to become better at making videos. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.